And here we are on part 4 of this Chinese made modern player series Fender Stratocaster. Not a big fan of this guitar, to be honest with you. I think this neck is really poorly made. But what I have done prior to the next refret is I have re-radiused the whole board. Didn't have a lot of material to work with because it's a thin piece of rosewood on the top. But like I say, it was so far down in that corner and this corner with a twist. I've re-radiused it to 9.5 inches. Some places it's even almost 7.25. So I've got it radiused best I can. Fret wire I'm going with. I've already pre-cut the fret wire. And I've also scooted off a little bit, not from that one, from fret 22. I've marked that in red. Reason being, I've took off a little bit of the bottom of the tang, because I don't have a lot of material to work with, because it's on an overhang, this last fret. We don't have a lot of wood to work with, and I didn't want to cut any deeper because I've took a little bit of material off the top. We've actually reduced the height of this fingerboard just a little. I didn't want to cut into that anymore and make the slot any deeper, because then we're going to be looking like we're going to be cutting through it. So rather than do that, I decided to cut a bottom, some of the bottom off the tang. If you look at the tang on that one to the tang on that one, is about half a mil difference. That's the one going in fret 22. I'm actually leveling these from fret 21 to fret 1. This is where I'm doing my level from, and I'll file fret 22 accordingly to the level between fret 20 and number 1 and 21, because I'm not using this as a supporting fret. This is going to be a fret that's there and works. That way it just covers all bases, and if it's not as rigid as the rest of the frets, it's still going to be usable. It's not going to cause any problems. I just don't want something so major right at the end of a fingerboard where there's an overhang. So I think you can understand the reasoning for that. Fret wire I'm going with is I had to go and get something with wider tang. I had to go to Portugal to Guitars and Woods, where I buy my fret wire from. This is actually 0.6mm kerf on the tang there, a little bit wider, so it's going to grip better. I'm going to radius it in at, I'm going to press the frets in at 7.25 radius. Then I'm going to press with a 9.5 radius to press the middle. Once the edges are in, I'm going to press the middle in. I'm going to araldite these in, epoxy, 30-minute epoxy. I'm going to get some mixed up. I'm going to do it in 2 halves. I'm going to clamp all the frets in. We're going to clamp in with a 9.5 inch radius beam. We're going to use that as a clamp. And say in 30 minutes I'll probably get half of them done. I'll probably get 11 done. So I'm going to do it in 2 halves. This refret. We've got no margin for error with this anymore, because like I say, it's that weeder, this piece of rosewood. I don't want to be cutting into the maple, so got to get it right this time. This is why I'm using araldite, or to the Americans or anyone across seas, we're using epoxy, and we're going to block and clamp everything in. So I'm not worried about this. It'll go absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do now is I've got the frets cut, all cut to size. We've got 5mm overhang each side, so we've got plenty of room for error, or plenty of margin for error. Not that we're going to do any errors, it's just that we're going to, we've got margin for error here if we need it. So I'm going to crack on with that. I'm not going to film the refret itself, you know how it works. I get my fret sized up, get it in, get some glue in there, get my fret in, squeeze it, hold it, blah blah blah. Just rewind back a little bit and you can check some of the earlier refrets. So I'm going to crack on with this now and come back and give you an update later. And now we're just about ready to start putting the frets in. You'll notice that I have taped up the fingerboard at the sides and across the top. I left enough gap there for the frets. The reason I do this is I am gluing the frets in using an epoxy, and it'll be terrible, it'll be really difficult to clean it off the fingerboard if it's all over the fingerboard. So we're probably just a tiny little bit wider than the frets will be, make it much easier to clean. What I do is, as I install a fret, I'll wipe as I install them. Once I've got a fret where it needs to be, I'll wipe off the excess glue with one rag, and with another rag with some white spray I'll wipe again to make sure there's none goes on the fret. I already did that on the refret on the Hondo last week, and it came out absolutely beautiful. And then it's just a matter of peeling off the tape before the glue dries properly, and it'll just leave the fingerboard all nice and clean, ready for oil later. So got the neck ready. I've got my neck rest. I also have, the only thing I've not done yet, I've got the 9.5 inch radius beam ready for clamping later. I'll get my clamps out shortly. I've got all the frets ready. Fret press is ready. I'll be using 2 cores. I'll be initially pressing in with a 7.25 inch radius, so we press in the edges. That will leave the top proud, and then what I'll do is I'll just pull out the 7.25 and go across with a 9.5, and we'll press the centre in. It's just a matter of just pressing really easy, just pressing in a coil and pulling it out again, pressing in whichever coil. I've set the screw so I can accept one, just tight enough, you know, so I can pull them out, push them in, pull them out. So that makes that really easy. All I've got to do now is mix up the epoxy I'm going to use. I am going to use my regular stuff, which is Z-epoxy. This is the set time 30 minutes one, so it gives you've got 25 minutes of work time once it's mixed with this. In 25 minutes I can do 12 frets, 11's enough. Once I've gone past this area, I have to be careful where this arc is, and it's more difficult to do because I have to do them one by one. Now when I get down to this area, once I get past the 12th fret, come down this way, I can do 3 at a time, and I can just glue 3, put 3 in. It makes it really, really easy. But when you're at this end, you've got to take your time with it, because otherwise you're going to be making a mess. So I don't do these in. Another thing, I can only cut once I'm at this end, because I cut as I put one in. Once it's in, I cut it, and I can only do one at a time with these until I can get the pliers in. With that, I can leave some hanging out. Then, you know what I mean. So with all these lot up here, I can only do one at a time. So I do the first half. I'll do 1 fret at a time up to a 12th fret. Rest of them, I can bang them in 3 at a time. Makes my job a lot easier. So now I'm going to mix up some epoxy to get me going. I'm going to get my rags over here. I'm going to get my clamps ready, and I'm going to proceed with the refret. Nice and easy on this part because I've got a flat base here. But once I get to here, I've got pad under there so it doesn't tip, because it does tip. A couple of ways we can do that. Once we get to the middle ones, we'll just go in with the support, but round about these 3 or 4 you have to go with a piece of I normally use a piece of folded cloth, and what it's going to do is it's going to give me some support under this side there, like so, and there, and it's going to give me all the support I need. So you can see how it works there. You just play this by ear. So I'm going to mix up some epoxy. I will be putting the epoxy on a piece of Teflon. This is the same piece of Teflon I used last week. The things with Teflon, it's you can't glue Teflon. So we'll mix the glue on there, and once it's gone off and dried and we can't use it anymore, we'll just crack the paper, peel it off, and we've still got the piece of Teflon to mix the next batch. I've also, while this is being clamped, because I'll have it clamped for an hour, I've already got another neck over there to work on to finish off while this one, the glue's drying on this one. So I've got to do a final polish on that with 2000 grit paper and steel wool. So that'll take me a good 40 minutes anyway. So it just gives me time, and I can mix up some more and get this one done. So got it all planned out. Even though it looks like for this video I'm working on one guitar, which I'm actually working on 2. It's a balance of getting things right. So I'm going to crack on, and I shall come back and let you know how the refret went. So 11 in, 11 to go. Got them all clamped up, and then the glue started to dry, so I couldn't get any more in. I've managed to get the awkward area done though. We've got them clamped. We're going to keep them clamped for an hour. They've not all gone in level. I didn't expect them to all go in level, but I've clamped them really tight, so I'm hoping that clamping is going to push them in. I'm hoping the grooves, the slots in there are deep enough. They should be deep enough. I've cut them all with a proper fret slotting saw. I actually cut them with that, which is my fret slotting saw with a guide on there, so they should well be deep enough. Sometimes they just pop up a little, so hopefully we're going to be okay. As you can see, got some good clampage on there, 3 clamps, all really tight, all level, so I'm hoping it presses some in a little bit more. Got some good epoxy in there, so they're going to stick. Like I say, I'm going to leave that for an hour, and then I'm going to come back and finish them off. So I'll not be coming back with an update tonight, and I'll not be showing the progress of any more frets while I do this refret. I'll just get them all glued in, I'll clamp it up overnight, and we'll come back in the morning and see exactly where we are. Well, I hope it just goes well so I can get these finally, get them levelled, bevelled, crowned and polished, and it can all go to the spray shop at the end of the week. So stay tuned, and back soon. Just a very quick update, because I've just mixed up some epoxy with some rosewood dust, giving me that because a couple of fret I had in, for instance, was not sticking at the edges, and even though I tried to put a bit more epoxy in there to get it to stick, it wouldn't have it. So I'm going to fill in this slot completely with epoxy and rosewood dust, same as with this one, and I'm going to let that set, and I'm going to recut the slot so we take a fret better. Again, another little hindrance with this guitar. It's been a bit of a pain in the arse, but you know, we expect these sort of things. It's not the best neck in the world, but end of the day we will get it right. I just wanted to show that little trick there. I'm now going to place the epoxy in the slot there, and I'm going to let that dry, and we'll cut some new slots to get the frets in, so stay tuned. Hi guys, just wanted to show this neck before. You'll notice I've now filled in the two slots that were causing problems. Slot 13 here, which I filled in, can you see that? Filled in with a mixture of rosewood dust and epoxy, and same down here, fret 2. Same again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut new slots for those. This one was a little bit wide, it wasn't gripping on the edge. Same with this one, it was just not gripping on this corner. We had a bit of a loss of material here as well, loss of rosewood. So you can see now I've filled it all in, built it back up, and now we can cut new slots, and those two frets will stay. Just wanted to show that before I crack on with it and get it finished. Right, before I continue, I have absolutely no idea where I am in relation to video on this guitar, this Chinese Modern Player Series Stratocaster refret. But what I'll do is I'll show where I am, and we have finally got the frets all level. I've just gone across with, I was doing it all with a levelling beam, 240 grit that side, 400 grit that side, and I decided, because I'd had to work so much on some of these frets. I mean, you look here for instance, look how flat this one is just here, that one. It's got a lot wider top, wider flat bit than a lot of the others. It's because it was higher fret wire for one, but I've used all the same width fret wire, 2.6mm, but some have had more off than others. So to make sure that we got an even radius across the whole fingerboard, I've gone across with a 9.5 inch radius beam. And this is for the benefit of people like Alan Forsyth, a luthier, who I only know him through, I don't know personally, I know him through Facebook. He asked if these, or what I thought of using these for actually doing the radius and finishing off the filing of the frets, or the levelling frets. As far as I'm concerned, absolutely brilliant, and in this situation, priceless, because I had so much trouble with getting the frets in on this guitar. It's been quite easily, it's been the most difficult refret I've ever done. Whether that's got anything to do with the material, likely. I did make a mistake putting the first lot of fret wire in twice, where I used the thin, it only had an 0.5mm tang and it wasn't enough. So I ended up, you checked the video, I've had to fill some slots and fill some areas in, but absolutely pleased with where I am right now. The frets are level, we've still got a good millimetre on these frets, and now what I need to do is I need to do a bit of filling on the fingerboard, and I need to do a bit more filing down the edge, just to remove, not really sticking out, there's a little tiny bit, and then I'm going to tape up the fingerboard, and we're going to profile, basically crown these frets. The twist I had in the neck is completely gone, absolutely beautiful. I'm really pleased with that. You know, I will never again in my life try and compensate for a slight twist in the neck by using higher fret wire. It doesn't work. It was laziness on my part, it was my mistake, and it was my fault. So the best thing I did was remove the frets, re-radius the whole fingerboard. I know I've taken about 0.5mm off the fingerboard, which I didn't want to do because there's not a lot of material there. Very, it's almost like a strip of veneer. But I did the right thing in the end, put on higher, harder fret wire. No, I didn't. I took the higher stuff off, and what I did do is I levelled re-radiused the whole fingerboard across the whole length. Where it was low on this corner and that corner, we've evened it all off. So the twist is gone. I'm sure you can pause that for a second or two and have a look down there. Absolutely wonderful. So now, like I say, we are ready for taping up and re-crowning. So I am now going to crack on with that. Tomorrow this will be going over to Clive Eastwood at Beaver Guitars for lacquering. Now it may not need lacquering because I've got all the excess glue that we had on there. I've got it off without scratching anything. We may get away without it, but I've already decided that at my own expense I will pay for that and I will get that done. So I'm not really bothered about it. I've got to go over there anyway because I've got to pick up another neck which I took over last week, and I need to check the progress on another guitar I'm having done. And I will be also taking another guitar for lacquering as well, one of my own. So without further ado, I'm going to crack on. Just about to lose the light here. I'll get as much done tonight as I can, means I've got to do less tomorrow. I'm actually starting to enjoy this neck again because I can see now that it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And kudos out there to Paul, Dr. Paul, whose guitar this is. He just says, look, I know you've had a difficult job, he says, but I know it's going to be worth it in the end, and I know that the job's going to be a good one. Well, it absolutely is. So at least, you know, end of the day, you're going to get the job right. So brilliant. So you can't put a price on that, can you? You can't put money on that. So absolutely fantastic. I'm going to crack on now, waffle a little bit less because I would like to get done. Come back later for another update. Right, fret friends, just getting toward the end of re-crowning the frets. I've got 4 more to do. Don't know if you can see these ones, we've got a thin blue line right down the centre. Whereas these last 4 are flat because I skimmed over the top, we levelled them all. So we need to get that, you know what I mean, we need to get a crown back in. Where they're flat now, we need to get the crown back in. So this is how I do it. Line up my tools, all the files I'm going to be using. I use my fret rocker and a pen. I have a clean rag here for wiping down the files as I use them, and there is a brush for brushing the files to get any bits of grit out. All the files are clean, and I'm going to show you how I re-crown frets. Now these frets are now flat, we need to get them. What I do is we put a curve back on the top, and what we need to do is get a thin line down the centre, which is a contact point for the string. Now the less material the string touches on the fret, the less chance there is of getting a buzz. So we go, try and get it as thin as we can. I normally aim for 1/2 millimetre, and I use various files to get that 1/2 millimetre. First I will check that the fret is level, which it is. All the frets around here are all level, I've levelled them all. So there's no rock on any of the frets anywhere. Absolutely wonderful. Don't need that for the time being, I've used the pen. I will first go with my 3-sided file, ground flat edges, and I'm looking to get a thin line down the middle. So as I come across the file, I'll be leaning the file over and in to make that curve. I prefer to do it with a hand file like this, and I'll finish off with a grooved file. So all I'm doing is just making that thin line down the centre. Now this is not my finishing file, then we'll turn to another side now. This is not my finishing file, so don't worry if it's a bit rough, which it will be. And I go, that's the side I've just used, and I go to this side, and I'll do the same on the other side of the fret. And I'm going to zoom in and see, in fact I'll zoom in right now because you're going to see where we are. Should have zoomed in before. So we're working on this fret. A thin line, I'll just draw another line down the middle so you can see where the line's going to be. Wipe the file again, start again. We roll over as we file. And we're going to use it, do this side. And we're looking for a thin line should I say. And we're just about there with that. I don't know how much you can see. I'm now going to go, that's a coarse file, I'm now going to go to the finer file, brand new one this one. This is not an equilateral shape like this one. This has a flat side there, and 2 more gradients there. These are both, I don't know what they'd be. Very, very nice. This is a really smooth cut, and I'll finish off with this one. I'll just go nice and straight first, just cut into the top, and then we'll just come over and roll in as we go. And the other side the same. And that one is just about done. What I'm going to do now is going with the groove file. It's got a groove all down the side, 2.5mm wide this side. And I'll be looking for this arc on the edge. And all I'm going to do, we'll blow away any residue there. And we'll just remove any burrs. Then what I'll do is I'll turn around, try and get it in the same place. I'll give a wipe, and I'll do the same from this side. And that is that one done. What I'll do is I'll just eyeball it, make sure we've got that round arc on the edge, which we have, and this side. Beautiful. And we'll check for level. Perfect. We'll go back one. Perfect. And we'll go forward one. Perfect. That one is now done, all ready for polishing. We'll give it a wipe. And we'll move on to the next one, doing exactly the same. This one will need a lot of work because it's not too flat. This one's quite flat and it will need a bit of work. Just going to brush the files. Just get rid of any filings on there. Same with this one. Give them all a wipe. Line them back up. Ready to work again. Get them in the correct order. They're all ready. Pen's been used. That's been used. We'll wipe the fingerboard. Make sure we've got no residue on there, and we'll start on the next one. I'm just going to work through these. I'm not really going to talk. I normally have some music on, or I'll have something on YouTube while I'm doing this. Passes the time. But with this, you just got to take nice, even strokes. Take your time. Don't be too heavy-handed like I was there, because if you move the neck, you're being too heavy-handed. Just take your time. We shouldn't need a lot of work because it's not that flat. Back one, forward one, another one done. When they're done, I mark them off. Just done two there. So those two are done. I've got two more frets to do. See there where I've marked them all off, all the way down the length. Blah, blah, blah. Got two more to do. Once that's done, we've still got the masking tape intact, and what we'll do is we'll go over and we'll polish all of these using various grits of sandpaper, get a nice polish on there, finish off with wire wool, and then that will be it. We can peel the tape off, clean up all the neck area, clean up all the neck, any spillage we've got on there. We haven't got any spillage on there anymore, I've got it all off. We'll lightly sand the fingerboard, not the fingerboard, the neck. We'll clean up the fingerboard. We'll get this ready for a recoat or a respray of lacquer just on the edges there. So that's it. I'm going to cut this just here now, and I'll come back once this is done and we're on to the polishing. And here we are, fret friends, and that is the frets now crowned. So we've got them installed, levelled, beveled, crowned, we're now ready to move on to the polishing. Once the polishing's done, I'll insert a nut, we'll get a nut glued in there, and I'll whiz this over to Clive Eastwood over at Beaver Guitars, and I'll get the neck sanded and sprayed, and then it can go back in the guitar. So this is the end of part 4 of this video. I'm going to finish it here because it's gone on long enough. Excuse me. Be sure to come back for part 5 where we'll finish off. We'll have the neck resprayed, all the frets polished, blah blah blah, new nut in there. We'll rebuild the guitar and we'll get it back to its owner. So see you in part 5.